is that surprise activates curiosity. That impels you forward, you generate new information, you update your plan, and soon you can get to where you want it to go. You're always contrasting what you want to happen with what you think is happening. They're both models. And wherever there's a deviation, wherever what you want to happen isn't going on, then you feel anxiety. Curiosity as well. You're impelled to explore. But anxiety is the thing that comes up first. And the larger the magnitude of the unexpected occurrence, the greater the amount of anxiety. One of the things we're going to try to determine in the course is how you can understand how large a disruption a given unexpected event is. Because, minor, let's go back to this other diagram for a second. Here's a way of looking at it. So let's say you're going somewhere and you have 3 plans to get there. And this plan doesn't work, so that means it produces an outcome that isn't what you envisioned. And this plan doesn't work, it produces an anomalous outcome as well, but this plan does work. Well, that's no problem. I mean, those are pretty minor league disruptions. All you do is you keep the same vision of yourself and the same vision of the future, you just switch between plans. But you're really in trouble if none of your plans work, or if someone messes around with your representation of this or this. So you can say, for example, you want to get into medical school, and you need 30 courses to get into medical school, and you should have A's on all of them, and you get a B+ on one course. Okay, well, you still have all these other courses. That's not such a big deal. It's a minor league disruption. It causes you a certain amount of anxiety and produces a certain amount of exploratory behavior. Perhaps you might go to the professor and say, why is it that I got this B+ when I was expecting an A? Don't you know what that's going to do to my vision of the ideal future? And so on and so forth. That's one sort of disruption. You're a bit anxious, but hey, you have 29 other courses, it's not such a big deal. Now, instead, you write the MCAT, and you score in the 15th percentile. Well, now you're in trouble. Because you have a vision of yourself. You think this is your version of the unbearable present. You're not a doctor. That's a pain in the neck. But you're a potential doctor. You have the intellectual resources at your disposal, and the educational background, and the familial push, perhaps, to make you into a doctor. And so that's what you conceived yourself as. That's your story about yourself, is you're this person with this set number of potentials. And you also have a vision of where it is that you're going. Well, the MCAT score comes back and you're in the 15th percentile. Well, your ideal future, it's gone. That's a big problem, because that means that all of the events that have surrounded you, that surround you now, and as far back as you can remember, that were given determinate significance by this particular plan, have all been cast into chaos. So everything that you've done up to that point has been predicated on the notion that this is where you were going, and that means that the significance that you attributed to everything was attributed to everything in relationship to that goal. You blow out the goal, and all those significances are back up in the air. You have to modify your version of yourself. So what the hell are you going to do now? You're not going to be a doctor. You put a lot of work into this, plus it's your whole self-conception. Well, this is gone. This is gone. I mean, this is irrelevant, right? I mean, the other 29 courses, why the hell are you even here now? So that's one example of the levels at which anomalies can occur. Minor league anomalies, no problem. You just scoot around them and you go to the same place. Major league anomalies, it's a new ideal future. Well, that's part of the reason that people are so prone to ideological conflicts. It's like, this is an ideology, you could say. It has a particular version of the way things are now. You look at communist ideology, it's pretty explicit. What's the unbearable present, so to speak? Well, I know this is a bit dated, but we're running out of hardline ideologies to poke fun at, so I have to use an old one. But the unbearable present is the class struggle, and we have reasons for that. It's basically the fault of the rich who are exploiting the poor. The ideal future is the point at which those unfair divisions of capital are eliminated, and there's a whole bunch of means to that end. That's an ideology. Well, someone else has a different ideology, a different version of the significance of current events, a different version of the significance and the nature of the ideal future, and a completely different apprehension of how to transform one to the other. When those two cultures come into contact, Well, first of all, they make each other anxious because they're not commensurate. They're not commensurate goals. And if this is the structure that regulates emotion, well, what's going to happen? Well, you can't just give up your damn plans, because then your emotions are dysregulated. You fall into chaos, so to speak. You don't know where you are, and you don't know who you are, you don't know what to do, and you don't know where you're going. And that makes you anxious. Neither side is going to give up their certainty. Well, the only thing left then under those circumstances is conflict. And you see this. I mean, look, how do arguments escalate? An argument with someone that you love, even, they want one thing, you want another. You discuss it, you're not getting anywhere. Your temper's raised because the abstract discussion isn't helping. Finally, you give up. Maybe you move to violence to solve your problem, to hammer out the story, so to speak. You can do that by oppressing the person who has the different viewpoint. There are experiments where people's task is to pick up an object. They can see the object in front of them. Okay, so you're given the task. That's the basic story. The story is what you're required to do is to transform yourself from the person you are now into the person who has possession of that watch. It's just a standard laboratory experiment. But the watch is actually not there. It's an image that's generated by mirrors. And when you move towards the watch, you find that it's not where it appears to be. Well, the fact of the object not being where it appears to be is an anomaly with regards to your current plan. And you'll react to that emotion. The first thing that'll happen is that, well, obviously you're going to be surprised, right? You think, this is pretty easy. I'm going to pick that up, and you find out the thing that you see is not actually there. That's an anomaly. You contrasted your desired future, which was your aim when you moved your arm, with the actual outcome of your actions. It's a part of your brain called the hippocampus that seems to be responsible for comparing what's actually going on, insofar as you can interpret that, with what you want to happen. And if a mismatch occurs, that sets up a whole sequence of related events. And those events manifest themselves in emotion and in thought and in behavior. Most evidently in emotion. If you're going to do something, you've done it before, and it doesn't work out the way you expected it to, the events that constitute the anomaly, the unexpected occurrence, they're surprising. And the question then is, what does surprising mean? Well, it basically means that something threatening has occurred and something unknown has taken place. What does the unknown mean? Well, the thing about the unknown is that you don't know what it means. That's a pretty straightforward statement. But you see, that immediately introduces a strange sort of paradox, because you lack infinite information. Obviously, people don't know what they're doing all the time, which means that you come into contact with things that you don't understand a lot. And that means, in a sense, that you have to know what to do when you don't know what to do, because you don't know what to do a lot. And that doesn't just bring you to a halt. Well, it is the case that your nervous system is hardwired to move to a sort of default position when the explicit plans that you have that you're carrying out fail. So as long as you could say, in a sense, as long as you know what you're doing, which means that you have a representation of where you are and where you'd like to be. You're carrying out your plans to make the move, and things are going according to plan. Well, as long as you're doing that, then the higher centers of your brain, the cortex, basically, it's under control. You know what you're doing. You feel comfortable and secure. As soon as something unexpected happens, the control shifts, and this is something that's basically beyond your capacity to control, though you can interfere with the process. Control shifts from the cortical centers to the more fundamental areas of the brain, to the limbic system. When something unexpected happens, two things occur. You stop. You feel a little bit of anxiety. Depends on how unexpected the occurrence is. If it's really unexpected, you'll be very, very frightened. If it's just something minor league unexpected, you'll just stop. Your sensory processing will heighten, you'll gather more information, and you'll explore. And as you explore, you generate information, and the information is supposed to bring you back on course, basically. So you'll say, well, what you'll do if you're trying to reach for the watch and you find out that it isn't where you think it is, well, you'll start making different sorts of approach sequences until you end up producing the outcome that you intended. When something unexpected occurs, two sets of circuitry are activated. One looks like it's dominated by the right hemisphere, the other looks like it's dominated by the left hemisphere. Unexpected things make you anxious and curious, and you can localize those emotions in the body, so to speak. Anxiety is the emotion that accompanies the cessation of your body's plan-directed activities. Okay. You could say that anxiety is what you feel when you slip into the mode of pause for further analysis. What you expected to do didn't happen, so you have to stop. Curiosity is what you feel when it's necessary for you to explore further, to gather new information, to update your plans. And exploration is basically governed by the interplay of the circuitry, brain circuitry, that mediates anxiety and curiosity. Curiosity, by the way, that's associated with positive emotions, and anxiety, as you all well know, is associated with a negative emotion. People would rather not experience it. Curiosity, or surprise, is basically a juxtaposition of those two sets of emotions, which work antagonistically. The unknown produces conflict all by itself. You have a hardwired response to the emergence of the unexpected. You have to, because you have to know what to do when something unexpected occurs. It's instinctive. Your instinctive response to the unknown is anxiety plus curiosity, which is to say, cessation of ongoing motor activity plus a drive to move forward and explore. And your exploratory activity is actually the sum total of the activation of the two sets of circuitry that mediate that response. And when you explore, if you explore, if something unexpected happens, you don't have to explore. You can note it and get the hell out of there. It's safe, but you don't gather any new information. It's a good short-term strategy. It's not a good long-term strategy. But anyways, the point is that surprise activates curiosity. That impels you forward. You generate new information. You update your plan, and soon you can get to where you want it to go. The point is that mismatch between what you expect to happen and what actually happens, that disinhibits anxiety.